Alright, today I might have a long video for you. I haven't made one in a while. With everything going on in the world and the stuff on YouTube and people pulling out grail cards when I'm only finding, smashed cards to barely even, put in my binders, I really didn't feel like making some videos. I had some attempts at videos. It's like, you know what, forget it. But I got a couple pieces of mail that came in. Hopefully I'll be able to share those with you. The Bob Aspromonte envelope has since been recycled or whatever. But why did I only send one card? Because that's what I could get, like if I could get cards that don't have much of a border on the edge there and get them for around $1, I am happy to get that. That either came in a lot or just as a one of on eBay, and Bob Aspromonte signed my 1963 Topps. He also nicely signed this with my name on here. This is a card that I sent him. It was called Little Passports, and it talks about the Petronas Towers in Malaysia, and I wrote my note and letter on there. And he has nicely signed this, so I will actually keep that. I kind of wanted to keep this kind of a fun little, it almost looks like Lego buildings there, but I thought that was pretty neat. So there are those two. Thank you, Mr. Aspromonte. If I do get around to it, I might send him a thank you. I've got tons of postcards laying around here just adding up like crazy. But getting the silly amount that I need to have on there, even if I already have 20 cents on there, it seems to just, wow, what a stamp, I've got one envelope here that's almost ready to go, but it needs, I think, a penny on there. Of crazy. I actually found these two stamps, the E-stamp and the 22-cent brand new at the bins. So how crazy is that one there? I almost didn't get them because one of the clerks was moving stuff around and then was churning the stuff around at the bins, and then it was just, anyway, might have a bin story later, but this is out of Nashville, Tennessee. This is one of those that I got at the stamp show. Paid 25 cents for 37 cents worth of postage. It wasn't a great deal, but there was I believe, a cancel over here, and they 100% missed the stamp. So I just put stamps over the side cancel, and then all that and that and that. So it was a collector's envelope. If I had ripped it open a little better, I might have been able to soak the stamps off, and but whatever. But anyway, it's funny how there's my Nashville, and those got canceled, and then the one that originally didn't get canceled the first time didn't get canceled again. I think that's kind of silly that happened there. But anyway, so that envelope will go away at some point. And we have gotten Brad Fable, or Fabel, is it Brad Fable? Probably Fable. And he signed there, it's really dark. He could only sign like right there. But I didn't know he signed. And I think he only had one card, or at least one card that I needed. So I said, hey, you know what, I'll get this. I can't remember if somebody sent him out, or I was just looking through and saw a bunch of people had gotten him. I said, I'm going to get this one. I mean, I have probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of, I have literally 300 or 400 golf cards that are autographed. The only problem is that I still need another 300 or 400 more cards. So that's a crazy thing there. Also today is very overcast and windy, and I have kind of a little queasy feeling right now. Picked this up at the bins as well. Hippie Hoppers art or something like that patch on the big island of Hawaii. Cowabunga! I'm kidding. If you know, put in the comments what that was from. But anyway, so I'll probably when I do the card show this weekend, I'll probably throw that in like a batch of patches or something off to the side, because it's a card show and a bunch of other stuff that people decide to bring. So I might throw this in there for $1. I only paid like 2 or 3 cents for this, so it's almost 100% profit there. And then I want to talk about some auctions this weekend. So this weekend I had some auctions for some after-school special photographs. It was a mixture of things here. Everything was all good to go until it wasn't, because I got really crushed in the auctions. One of the auctions went for $50. I know it was 12 photographs, but only 2 of them I wanted. The previous auction listing had only gone for like, 2/3 of that or something like that. So another additional $15 or $20 was raised by me, and I still didn't win. And then there were some other ones. I only wanted to participate in 3 of the auctions, and I won 0 of them. All the other auctions are mostly greatly ignored and left alone, and so a lot of those people that have one nose, whether it was the original person that tried to outbid me or whatever, those were all left alone, and they ended up at the $5 benchmark. So I should have basically just started throwing crazy numbers, but you just never know. You just never know. And I didn't want a single one of those pictures. They had no connection, but I wanted only the ones that I wanted, and it happened to be in the 3 ones that just basically shot through a cannon. You know, I was, you know, sometimes first bidder, then I was high bidder numerous times. I was high bidder at $30-odd, and then somebody redid their max, and oh, what a mess. What an awful mess. So then a couple of days later, fast forward, and I found something for after school special projects, but unfortunately I'm going to probably have to make a print of it. It's kind of like a transparency / negative or positive type thing. It's in 4x5 of all things, but I will probably have to make it into 8x10 if the people that I can take it to will let me do that. So it looks like it's going to cost an additional $5, which is no big deal, but still. And it's not going to be original photograph, but I will have the original, you know, transparency and the press materials that go with that. And I have not found a picture. Well, actually there's one kind of, but it's not one of the goodie images. It's just kind of a weird image. It's just kind of partial. I don't know. And it's from a seller that it's crazy, because my favorite seller for after school specials left eBay. Currently they're gone. They've been gone for months and months and months. Earlier this year I think they left. Starlight Collectibles. And then there's ABC DVD Video, and they sell lots of reproduction photographs that they print along with the real ones, and it's kind of a mess, and they don't ship very well according to what people on the internet say on eBay. They say that they're terrible shippers, and if there's any kind of damage they don't like to fix it, so that's not fun. And then of course, you know, Historic Images is basically zoomed everything to the $25 benchmark. They have sales, but the sales don't get down to where I feel comfortable buying them, and you know, additional $5 for shipping. But if you buy X amount of them, so basically I have to spend $100 to save any kind of money, which is terrible. You know, I really didn't want to spend $100. I could have easily spent $100 on those auctions, but these pictures were actually unique. Have been unique to my collection, and they're kind of on my list now. And I searched the whole eBay and everything else, and I found 0 of them for sale. But they were selling for nothing before. The week before, they were selling for, you know, half of what I put. It made no sense, whatever. So somebody is probably, you know, a big buyer for like a company or whatever like that, and they just want to crush the competition, so they go away. And sometimes it does work. You know, people's like, I'm so sick and tired of these auctions. Everybody jumping out to whatnot, and then the horror stories of a good shop Goodwill very quickly. Talked to somebody last night, and they said that they were high bidder on some knives on Shop Goodwill, and Shop Goodwill basically canceled the auction on them the day after or something like that. I don't know exactly the whole story, but I wished I could, you know, figure out what was going on here. I might be able to see if I can pull up the old listing or there or whatever, but he was high bidder at $900 some, and he was technically going to get a free knife out of it, and then so he could, you know, sell some, and he was loading stuff on eBay to refinance his knife purchase, and then Goodwill basically hosed him. So I don't know the whole deal is. Maybe it was a reserve auction that wasn't met and he didn't know it. And that's probably what that was. So I don't trust a Shop Goodwill, and he keeps going onto that stupid website. I wish people would just learn their lesson, but he's one of those people who just persist, you know, because it's like any kind of gambling addiction. It's there. You want to do that and then get it, and then it's not. You know, you get one Goodwill auction. I virtually won one item, and I had to overpay by $50 to $70, but it was something I needed for personal use, or you know, something else other than cards. So what else do we have here before so I have 68s pulled up on the screen here and going through cards, because again, I want people to get the cards that they don't have available to them, and vintage is virtually not available. Some people, if they're set builders or whatever, will just take any card they can get until they can find a better copy. And not everybody likes to go to eBay for that sort of thing. But unfortunately, my 68 cards that I was looking at to build a set of many, many years ago, because I have the Nolan Ryan, to the chagrin of several of my viewers, so like, give that Nolan Ryan to me. And I said, not on your life, buddy. that'll be passed down to family and stuff like that. So this is my 68s here, but unfortunately it's some of the best cards and the worst cards in my entire collection. Because what happened was I got the Milton Bradley cards many years ago. Most of them, you see these bright yellow backs right here versus these kind of dark orange ones here. These are the Milton Bradley cards, and I didn't know there was a difference. Nobody knew the difference when I found those. And then so I thought I would do a set build, and then it turns out that those are different variation cards and people don't necessarily consider that as a complete set build, so I stopped 100%. Somebody else told me the same thing. They started doing a set build, and I forget who they were, but they were relatively they're on YouTube. I kind of know who they were, but they were doing a set build and they ran into the same problem with the Milton Bradley cards and the regular cards there, and they were not sure how to continue. Whether they did or not is not important. But some of these cards here, we'll get to the page here, like Al Ferrara, that needs to be replaced. I've had that for decades, literally. Somebody scratched out Dodgers, wrote Padres, and then wrote something else there, Pilots, and crossed that out. And then, so that needs to be replaced. Jake Gibbs has autographed that one. Try to keep these in order here. And then I've got lots of cards with water damage and back damage. Willie Mays is not in the best condition there, but I do have a Willie Mays, so I'm very happy to have a old Willie there. Again, I don't remember how I got some of these. You know, I've had these for a long time, and so I was more interested in picking up some of the stars. You know, the Ed Matthews is one of those Milton Bradley cards, very off-centered. And some of the error cards in this set, I was excited because I said, I got those rare error cards, but they were printed as Milton Bradley cards, so there's no premium for those particular ones. Don Minter's got a huge crease down the center of it, if you can see that one, so that's no good. And then, you know, Phil Reagan is another Dodgers that's been crossed out onto Cubs. Very, very super damaged there. And I do have vendors such as this one here on eBay where I can get, you know, better cards. I do have the Hank Aaron, you know, so I don't know that there's any price value difference there, so I mean I really did very well on those. Frank Bertana, my favorite seller, already sold out of that card, so I'll have to find another vendor, but somebody's written cards on there. Otherwise that would be a keep card, but it's not. It isn't a card. You know, that I want to keep, and I don't like the story behind it because a guy brought in some cards to a card shop. It was his and his brother's childhood collection. He wanted to sell it. The guy was kind of brokering it for them, and then what happened was that it was just a handshake type of thing, and then the deal kind of fell south. Cards were, you know, kind of semi-stolen by other customers. They said, oh, I want to take this and this and this before the ink had basically even dried, and then I took a couple cards, and I said, oh, these are worth nothing. They're all damaged. I'll pay you a couple bucks for these cards, you know, and now I look at it, it's like, oops, I didn't mean to do that, not realizing that the card shop owner, which is a very nice person, just kind of screwed up the deal and just ignored it, and then the guy said, hey, he stole my cards. Do you know that guy? So I was being accosted because I was in that shop that day. So I was being hounded by the card shop because I just happened to be in the card shop that day when this deal went down. And he said, you were in the card shop that day. Where's my cards? You know, like I had them. And I said, I'm just a customer. I don't know. I just live out in this little small town. I had known, and he was just so mad that his cards got stolen. But the thing was that they were sentimental value cards. They were like this one here, Ramon Webster. It wasn't this one. Padres written on there. It has no value, none. You know. So back in the day, they had some value, and today they basically are just ones that I know some of us collectors would just throw in the garbage and not tell anybody about it, you know. I mean, what do you do? Sell them on eBay for $1 a piece with writing on it and hope somebody would buy them? A lot of these cards here, here's like the Alvin Dark one here. That's an original buyback. I know there's creases and stuff on there, but I said, Alvin Dark? Buyback? You know, it's one of those names that's like floating in between, you know, good and not good and whatever. And I know he's a manager, but still, that's a name that you would kind of know. And a lot of these cards have back damage on it. I'm trying to get to some of those to show you some of those. The checklists are all super damaged. You know, what's funny is like what I paid for the checklist back in the day is what I'm paying now for checklists, you know, in the same condition or better. You know, we got, you know, Frank Fernandez, or I think that's Frank Fernandez, and somebody's crossed him out, and somebody put an X by that one. So I've got a lot of rookies that have been just obliterated, and that's just, they need to go. Those cards would just be given away to somebody for free if they wanted them, you know, eventually. And then we've got cards here. Again, I've got, Norm Cash. Well, it looks okay on the front here, but there's a little bit of water staining in corners, missing a corner, and Norm Cash was glued into somebody's album, or it got stuck to another card. So I even had to write the card number 256 on the back of it, so that has to go. So tons of these cards have to be replaced. Again, here's a Hal McRae rookie card that I got at some point, and somebody drew a circle around it. That's terrible. And some of the later cards in these series, now again, this one is a nice one that I just recently got, Chuck Vincent and Jim Weaver. And these cards are actually out of order. And some of these, if I've already haven't shown you, the pages are really old. This is one of these that wrinkles in the corner here. It's like some sort of high grade page or something. It's Cal cards. It's from Cal cards, and the pages are all kind of wrinkled and, kind of brained up or whatever you want to call it, So there's that one there. Just really, really just yuck. Another one of those cards from pages from Cal cards. There's a messed up, Jim Palmer there, but I didn't pay much for that. And some of these cards actually physically had mud on them, so I had to clean those off. They came in a box of stuff, and I saved those. So that's most of those. Unfortunately, not in very good condition. I'll go back a couple pages here. And of course, my binder is falling apart. My Snoopy binder is just absolutely that's what these are in here. It used to be something else to 71, but now it's like 68 to 70. I think I took the 69s out of there and put the 68s in instead. Larry Shepard is another one that just absolutely just obliterated here. I'm so grossed out to even touch some of these cards here, and people are like, why are you buying these icky cards here? See, there's some just real dirty, really, really dirty cards there. Lou Brock is another one of those. It looks like it was left somewhere gross, and again, Lou Brock is just totally obliterated. I mean, if somebody wanted that, that would be $1. I'm not selling it for $1, but, if I had a chance to upgrade that one at some point, then I would throw it in my dollar pile, and somebody would say, hey, Lou Brock for $1, I'll take it, because that'll be a good space filler, or arts and crafts, as Geez Mikey always says. And then I got some of these other ridiculous pages here. I cannot find where that one was. This one here. This one is ProGuard or something. Enor ProGuard. So you got some Enor ProGuard pages. They're super ridiculous here with all these cards in here. So ridiculous times there. Again, I try to stay positive, and again, I'm hoping to, anytime I do a card show, which is almost never, but this weekend I have the opportunity to help somebody, and so I'm trying to get rid of thousands of cards, and then the biggest fear I have is I'll be stuck with the rest of them, and I'll just filter them back in my collection, without filtering them out, and that's not the goal. My goal is to just get rid of this stuff, and I don't want to go to the show, go to a couple of vendors that have the vintage or barely have the vintage and overpay. I'm not paying $5 for 64 tops or 62 tops or 63 tops, a couple bucks for 68 tops. There's no reason to do that, when they have soft corners. This seller here on eBay is selling G to VG, poor, fair, excellent, every grade aside from mint, for 99 cents, and then you buy X amount and you get 40% off of 5 cards. So why wouldn't I? They're only like 59 cents or something like that, and there's no seller that would even get close to that anywhere I live. None of the 25-cent vintage cards that people are finding on the East Coast or whatever card shows that they happen to go to. That's why it takes so long for me to build sets. So that's it that I have for today. If I've forgotten something and more stuff, I don't know what to say. I got only those 2 autographs in. It's been a very, very slow mail week, but it just started. And that's what I have for today, and thank you for watching.